There's my audience. I made sure they were comfy. At first glance, this dog looks like an ordinary dog. Her name is Amy, and she's not. She's a service dog, and she benefits her owner, Knox, by helping alert him to high and low blood sugars. According to the American Humane Association U.S. Pet, Cat, and Dog Population Sheet, 20,000 Americans live with service dogs every day in the United States. Service dogs originated in the 1920s when the first school for seeing eye dogs opened in Tennessee. Since then, the use of service dogs to treat many other disabilities has expanded beginning in the 1970s. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Americans with Disabilities Act, service animals are defined as dogs that are individually trained to do work or perform tasks for people with disabilities. These service animals are able to treat a variety of disabilities. They treat people living with seizures, people who are deaf, people with mental illness, people with autism. But for the purpose of our speech, we're going to talk about service dogs being used for PTSD, diabetes, and seeing eye dogs. In 2009, Associate Professor in Residence at UCSF School of Medicine, Karen Shaw, MD, noted that 40% of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans in the last 6 years were diagnosed with PTSD. She also noted that 60% were still diagnosed after standardized treatment. This calls for an adjunctive treatment in the use of service dogs. Service dogs are trained to interrupt anxiety and panic attacks. They're also trained to guide their owners away from stressful situations, and they're also trained to remind their owners to take their medications. But veterans are not the only people who live with PTSD. In America, people every day suffer from PTSD caused by child abuse, sexual abuse, physical and sexual assault, traumatic accidents, and natural disasters. A study by Yount, Ulmer, and Lee, published in the U.S. Army Medical Department Journal in 2012, titled Service Dog Training Program for Treatment of PTSD in Service Members, found that there are many physical, psychological, and emotional benefits of having a service dog. The physical benefits included better sleep, a decreased startle response, and a decrease in pain medications. Their psychological benefits included increased patience and emotional regulation, increased assertiveness skills, better parenting and family dynamics, and fewer war stories with more in-the-moment thinking. The emotional benefits, they noted, were decreased depression and stress as measured by cardiac reactivity and cortisol, a decrease in emotional numbness, an increased sense of purpose, and an increased sense of belongingness. So how does it work? In 2003, Odendahl and Mintz, in that same study in the Army Medical Journal, found that affiliative behavior between human and dog resulted in a change of neurohormones. These changes included increases in beta-endorphin, oxytocin, prolactin, and dopamine. It also noted decreases in cortisol, which causes stress. The most important thing to note was that oxytocin levels doubled. Oxytocin modulates symptoms important in the psychopathology of PTSD, including anxiety, fear response, hyperarousal, social isolation, pain, and sleep disturbances. According to How Dogs Can Help Veterans Overcome PTSD, published in July 2012 edition of the Smithsonian Magazine, Meg Daly at Warrior Canine Connection said, oxytocin improves trust, the ability to interpret facial expressions, the overcoming of paranoia and other prosocial effects, and the opposite of PTSD symptoms. Service dogs are also used to treat diabetes. Data from 2011, released by the American Diabetes Association, found that 26 million Americans live with diabetes. According to eye-opening stats in U.S. Vision Laws, published by Review of Optometry in Volume 149, Issue 7, Current trends indicate that by 2050, 1 in 3 Americans will live with diabetes. As it stands now, continuous glucose monitors are often inaccurate, and many people suffer from hypoglycemic unawareness. According to Rooney, Morant, and Guest, an investigation into the value of trained glycemia alert dogs to clients with type 1 diabetes, published by PLOS ONE, Volume 8, Issue 8, service dogs were able to reduce A1C levels. Reduced A1C levels also reduces the risk for subsequent diseases. According to data from 2011, released by the American Diabetes Association on their fact sheet, these subsequent diseases include risk for heart disease, stroke, hypertension, blindness, kidney disease, neuropathy, amputation, and diabetic ketoacidosis. These service dogs are also able to reduce the episodes of hypoglycemia. Reduced hypoglycemia also reduces the risk for seizure, developmental delay, and death. There are psychological benefits as well, including decreased anxiety in their owners. The American Diabetes Association also published the economic cost of diabetes in the U.S. in 2012. Here, they note that $76 billion are spent in hospital inpatient for the treatment of diabetes. They also found that $69 billion were spent in indirect costs, including unemployment due to early mortality and loss of productivity from missing work. So how does it work? The human body is made of many carbon compounds. Diabetic Alert Dogs of America, FAQs, was able to note that diabetic alert dogs are able to sniff out these compound changes in the human body where humans are not able to. Environmentally, diabetic alert dogs are able to retrieve emergent medication and navigate the environment while the owner is suffering from high or low blood sugars. The symptoms of these blood sugars often include shakiness, dizziness, and vision loss, so they step in when the owner cannot. Service dogs are also used as guide dogs for the visually impaired. According to Mark Ostermeyer, in History of Guide Dog Use by Veterans, published in Military Medicine, Volume 175, Issue 8 in 2010, 165,000 blind or visually impaired veterans live in the United States today, with 7,000 newly diagnosed every year. But veterans are not the only ones who live with vision loss. According to Eye-Opening Stats in U.S. Vision Loss, published by Review of Optometry, Volume 149, Issue 7, there's been a 25% increase in age-related macular degeneration, a 19% increase in cataracts, a 22% increase in open-angle glaucoma, and an 89% increase in diabetic retinopathy. Service dogs are able to benefit their visually impaired owners physically, psychologically, and emotionally. Physically, the owner will live with increased mobility. They're able to navigate through obstacles better, and they're able to save time. Psychologically, owners of seeing eye dogs have a sense of increased safety, increased security, and decreased anxiety. The emotional benefits are that service dogs often act as emotional icebreakers. So the visually impaired benefit from increased socialization. So how does it work? Seeing eye dogs are taught intelligent disobedience. They're trained to disobey their owner when it's not safe to obey their owner, for example, when crossing the street. They're also trained to locate objects, empty places to sit, to avoid obstacles, and to remember frequented routes, and they bring their owners peace of mind. PTSD is very prevalent in the United States, especially given the war on terror. Service dogs, as an adjunctive treatment, are able to benefit their owners and cope with their PTSD symptoms. Diabetes affects 26 million Americans today and will soon be more than that. And diabetic alert dogs are able to sense acute changes in blood sugars and help diabetics regulate their blood sugar better and avoid subsequent diseases. Seeing eye dogs are able to benefit their visually impaired owners. As you can see, Service dogs are very beneficial to their owners, and they help them with their disabilities. And not every disability is invisible or is visible. A lot of them are invisible. And the Americans with Disabilities Act provides that they have access to any public establishment. So if you plan on working anywhere, you're required to note that a service animal can be benefiting someone even if you can't see their disability. Roger Karras, former ASPCA president and distinctive voice of the annual Madison Square Garden Dog Show in New York City, said dogs are not our whole life, but they make our lives whole. Thank you.